Hi, Þórhildur.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Þórhildur Magnúsdóttir, right?
Yes.
You're Icelandic.
I'm Icelandic, yes.
So am I. We're sitting here in a really fancy studio in Reykjavik.
Yeah.
It's my first time on camera. I'm really nervous.
It is all super technical as well.
Yeah. We have to sit in a certain position to stay in focus. So
Yeah.
these next 5 hours are going to be really hard. So you're kind of, I found you in the media. I was looking at the Icelandic media and I saw you talk about relationship and polyamory and different kind of things. And I was curious because you are very kind of straightforward in your communication, and I found a lot of the things that you talk about to be very interesting. So, but if you tell me a little bit, what is it actually that you do? Because you don't do only poly.
Right. So what my focus is today is educating people on relationships, and just mainly being more authentic with yourself as well as your partner. And the part of that is from my journey was that I am now in a polyamorous relationship, which for me is kind of like the deep sea of being authentic. It's like being fully you and being open and having all the freedom, which has as well taught me just how to have more open and honest communications in all relationships. So my focus is just on teaching people how to be more honest with themselves as well as their partner or partners.
And you run this platform it's called SundurogSaman, which is kind of what we say there in English, together and apart.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the direct translation. It doesn't really capture the meaning of it. So SundurogSaman is kind of this Icelandic saying of the in and out of it is kind of the meaning of SundurogSaman, but it also means apart and together. And the idea behind that name is that while we're in relationship, we have to as well keep the focus on being our individual self. So not because so many people fall into relationships and they kind of they go like this, they kind of merge with their partner in this, and everything is about the relationship and what they do together. And people very often neglect taking care of themselves, continuing their own hobbies and friendships, and maintaining their individuality. But that is very necessary to maintain a healthy relationship for a long time.
And you say that going into polyamorous relationship is kind of the deep dive into, how do you say, being authentic about who you are and what you want?
Yeah, that's how I feel.
But what is for people who don't know what polyamory means? I mean, what's the kind of the brief?
So polyamory or polyamorous relationships are based on, they're non-exclusive, so they're non-monogamous. So meaning you have the freedom to explore connection with other people than your partner. So for some people, like myself, I have a husband. I've been married for almost 10 years, and I also have a boyfriend. So it doesn't really necessarily have to be in that particular form. The stereotypical polyamorous relationship, like the media portrays it as 2 women and 1 man in a kind of a triangle relationship. That's kind of the stereotypical idea people have. But that's not the most common
Probably created
form.
by men, though.
Yeah,
idea.
Exactly. Yeah, but so the basic idea is that you're not exclusive to one person.
But that means romantically, it's not a sexual relation. I mean, it is also, or it's not necessarily only sexual. It's
so most people are non-exclusive in having friends. But so polyamorous is that there's no restriction on sexual or romantic ties. Monogamous relationships, then you can only have sexual and romantic feelings for one person. That's kind of the definition of it.
But it's an interesting thing, because I think historically then monogamy is a relatively new thing. I mean, if we go back, I mean, just maybe 100,000 years, no, 100 years or 200 years or something like that, then we didn't really have this monogamy. I mean, so do you think it's actually more natural to us to be poly than monogamous? I mean,
so this is kind of probably an endless debate, what's more natural for us. But yeah, as a species, we as human animals, we don't have this kind of function that once you enter a relationship, you are closed off to feelings for other people. Like we have this primal drive that we seek connection and we want to have, sex with hot people. That's like basically how we work. So monogamy, like you said, is relatively new, and many people watching would think, like, what do you mean it's not new? But that's true. Like monogamy started as this kind of economical phenomena whereby like kings or these kind of high power people were claiming land. Like this is our land, and we want to claim ownership of this, and we and also peacemaking. Like so, if I have this land, you have that one. We want to marry our kids so that we're staying safe. So and that means that means we're not going to divide the resources, land, wealth, whatever, with anybody else, and then these two families. So that's how it started, and then trickled down. So
But it's also a great way to kind of, I don't know, consolidate power, but also to control people, because you convince them that I mean, when the church was super powerful, like this is the only way, and if you don't do this, you're a bad person. I mean, so that's the way that you could actually convince people to do as the higher powers want it,
Yeah, so monogamy started as this kind of economical phenomena, and then church kind of like, that's a good idea. We can use this to control people. Yeah. But today we're like, this is the only way. This is the right way. Yeah. But it's not. Like it's not natural for us.
And I remember here in Iceland, like it's very, when you read our old sagas and stories from, I don't know, like 15th, 17th century or 18th century, and it was really, really rare that a man, for example, had children with just one woman, and he had babies with the workers, and he had babies with the woman from the next farm, and but it was more male than female, kind of let's say the non-monogamy, at least in our culture.
Yeah, well, women's non-monogamy or women's non-exclusivity would be punished. Mm-hmm. So that's
because they were the asset, or property of the man.
Exactly. So if they were found out,
Yeah. But is it? I mean, because I found you, and I was curious about what you're doing, and then it made me think back. Like if I, 20 years ago, I don't think that someone like you could have been out there speaking in the way that you do. I mean, I think you would have been judged. You probably judged a lot, but you would have been judged much more.
Yeah, it's true.
Is it? I don't know. Is this lifestyle, or would you call it a lifestyle?
You could either that's another debate. Like some people would say it's a lifestyle choice, and other people would say it's more of like an identity or a kind of a sexual orientation or a relationship orientation. Mm-hmm. So it's some people would say it's a lifestyle choice, and other people would say this is my identity.
What's your?
Wow, I haven't really considered it that way. I feel it's more of like a part of who I am. Mm-hmm. I think so. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. That's what I would say.
And it's getting more popular. I mean, or is it just that it's now, I don't know, the information is flowing more, or what's the?
Yeah, I mean, I think our society is going in this direction of being more conscious, being more deliberate, more intentional, as well as more informed, more liberal, more concerning of people feeling like themselves, being able to be free and authentic. So I think that allows for more people to, consider this option and live with it. But I think like non-monogamy as the form of infidelity has always been very common. So people have been, having sex or having, relationships outside of their primary relationship, like forever. But now I think people are being more conscious and knowing about this option slowly. Maybe just coming to terms with that monogamy isn't the only and best choice for us, for everybody. I think just the more open discussion is making it possible for more people to choose this kind of life.
And I think also it has helped a lot. I mean, with social media, then it gives a platform for ideas that would never have been allowed into the mainstream media. I mean, like it's...
True.
I don't think. I mean, actually, you've gotten some airtime here on like mainstream media. I heard you on the state radio, and that was a really interesting talk. And then I read some articles or news about you as well. But I think that helps. I mean, it kind of gives a platform for much more diversity than what we had before. Because at least in a country like Iceland, we had 5 newspapers, one for the communist, one for the capitalist, and then all the stuff between,
Yeah.
But and how did this start for you? I mean, what got you into this? Were you always curious, or?
You mean into polyamory?
Yeah.
So until 4 years ago, or like 4.5 years ago, I didn't know what polyamory was. Like I had never heard of this kind of like honest and honest and conscious way of being in a relationship that is open. I had heard of like some people who like were in an open relationship were always like trying to pick up girls, at clubs, which didn't really appeal to me. Like that, I thought that was very sleazy. So a friend of mine was, talking to me about relationships. She was asking like, for how long have you been together? She was asking about me and my husband, and she asked, has it always been easy? And I said no. And she asked if I had ever fall in love with somebody else or had feelings for anybody else, which I had. Like a few years prior, I had developed feelings for a guy I was working with, which was very, unnerving. It was shocking and it was uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know of this option, and then it was just like, am I doing something wrong? Like all of these feelings. And then she told me about she was opening up her relationship. And describing the way they were doing it, like honest communication, being true to themselves, saying what they want, like communicating. And I was just amazed that like people could actually do that and be, just like being so brave. So that's when I started reading about it, and I just thought it made a lot of sense.
And then you brought it up at home.
Yeah, and then like a few days later, I started talking with my husband about it. Then I wasn't really like invested in the idea. It was more of just like, wow, this is so interesting.
Some curiosity.
Yeah, it's like I was really curious. And then just as I read more about it, listened to podcasts and read books, I just felt that I felt that I had gotten like the confidence in the idea that it could work. Reading stories from other people who had been practicing it, and I just thought, this could be possible. And it was something that I wanted to try.
And what did he say?
Well, his first reaction was like, these people are just psychopaths. Like this is crazy. And that's actually what he thought. Like, and I think the idea for him was, because he had known of this guy who was like cheating on his wife, and then when she found out, he kind of tried to convince her that it was a good idea that he could continue to see his girlfriend on the side, but he was actually just very manipulative, and he wasn't a really good guy and wasn't treating his wife well. So I think that was the idea that came to his mind. But then after reading about it and talking about it a lot, he kind of eased into it and got off the idea that it was just psychopaths. And it was just really fun. Like for the first time, we were actually honest with each other about like what we would want to do, what we would want to explore.
Yeah.
And just like for the first time, we're really honest with each other. It was really refreshing.
And then like you kind of make a career. I mean, I know that you do a lot on relationships in general. You like and how to work on a relationship. But I think from the messages that I see from you and the content that you create, and by the way, you're the most active person that I know. I mean, there is constant flow of really interesting stuff. I really enjoy, and I would love if you had it all in English as well, because I think people would love
Hopefully
it.
coming soon.
and you're great at this.
Thank you.
But so, why did you kind of decide to make this part of your career? Is that a conscious thing, or it just kind of started slipping in, or? So,
my kind of like self-discovery journey started with minimalism. When I was on maternity leave. I was at home in this tiny apartment crammed with stuff, which I was sick of. And then I discovered minimalism, and I like dove into that, like reading about getting rid of stuff you don't need, like simplifying your life.
Is that this Marie Kondo woman or something?
Well, this was before Marie Kondo, but then I totally went on the Marie Kondo wagon for a while. And then like I had this small platform where I was just talking about living a meaningful life, living a minimalist lifestyle. So that's kind of where my sharing my life journey started. And then slowly, like as well as talking about parenting. And then as I read more about parenting and how I wanted to parent my child, I realized that huge part of raising a child in a good way is tied to the relationship between the parents. So if I'm 100% sure about how I want to raise my child, what a perfect mother I want to be, a big part of that is like living in harmony with the other parent. And that's where I realized I had a lot of work to do. So that's when I started reading about relationships. And then, I kept having some kind of platform where I was sharing about my like mindfulness and minimalist lifestyle. And as after I became polyamorous, I learned a lot more because that kind of just like, broke away a lot of, boundaries and ceilings I had about my ideas of what relationships can be and how they should be. And learned a lot through that. And I just felt the need to share more about that. So I think, building this platform, talking about relationship and kind of making this career, because now I offer like courses and consultation and stuff, kind of just came from my, enjoyment of sharing what I'm learning about life.
And seeking how to do things in a
exactly.
better way for yourself.
Yeah. So I studied engineering, so I'm very like solution oriented and very analytical.
I would never have guessed that.
Yeah, so I'm a software engineer.
Fuck that. That's crazy.
As well as like a year ago, I finished my master's in economics.
Wow.
So that's like my background. Like
that's a curveball.
Yeah, like being very analytical, being very like discerning and trying to understand systems and society, and then finding solutions to make my life better.
Okay. Yeah, and somehow, because before we started recording here, you looked at me and, are you nervous? And I was like, fuck, this is a witch, she sees through everything, and I was like, oh shit. And I was nervous, because, it's cameras and lights and, some background and some girl that I have never met before,
I'm also a yoga teacher.
Yeah, but that I could have put on the label,
Exactly.
Like, some spiritual thingy.
Yeah, spiritual things, yeah.
But maybe that's why I like your content, actually, because it's not overly spiritual. It's actually very rational
practical.
and very kind of argumentative, or whatever you say.
Practical is what I would say.
Yeah. And I'm a lawyer, and my feet are under the ground, so I like practical stuff when I see it.
And I know that's what people need.
Yeah.
They need to hear like practical things. Yeah.
But it's an interesting thing though, because there's a lot of this stuff flowing out there that is like, be yourself, just be you, be you, and all that bullshit.
Yeah.
But there are not the practical parts of it. And but so you sorry, go back. You talked to your husband about this, and then what? So when you're aligned, you and him, okay, we're gonna do this. You just go on Tinder then, or what do you do?
Yeah, basically. So there was maybe like this one part of the story that's kind of crucial to this is, so when I started talking to him about this, I wasn't really invested in the idea. Like I said, I was just like, wow, this is really interesting. This is very fascinating. And like we started dating when we were 17, so we were very young. And had been together for this whole time. And this was like 10 years later. So we were 27, had 2 kids, had been together the whole time. And I am very social. I'm very like extroverted. I get a lot of energy from like being around people, whereas he's more introverted. And at the time I had like a lot of free time. Like I had, I was at this like good place in my life, and I was just energized, and I just wanted to expand in some way. I don't know. So this was just something that was called to me. It's just like, and as well, I'm bisexual, and having started in my relationship with my husband at 17, like there was no room for exploration there. It was something I always knew, and I had told him when we started dating. But like the only time I had thought of breaking up with him was when I thought, maybe I should break up with him to try to be with women. Like maybe I should try to explore that part of me. But it had nothing to do with him. The reason I didn't do it because I didn't want to break up with him. I loved him. Like my relationship with him was perfect, like or as perfect as it was. So I never did that. And I joked to people like, if he dies before me, I will marry a woman. Like that would be my only window of opportunity. So I'm sure that played a big part in like my wanting to explore this. Like it was a whole big part of my sexuality that had never been explored. So after having talked to him about this and feeling like my interest in this topic, there came this moment where I noticed that I had more interest than he did, and he was kind of like, he was fine with it, like he didn't need this, he wasn't that interested. So that's where I had to kind of take responsibility for like what I wanted, and like specifically just ask, like, this is what I want to do, like, can we do this? And then like that's kind of when the conversation changed from being just like, this is a fun idea, to just, this is what I want, can we do this? And yeah, so he was up for that, and we decided to do that. And
then you go out and find people. I mean, or you.
Yeah, that's what you do.
Yeah. And what's your status now in this? I mean, what's you have a boyfriend now?
Yeah, I'm married, and I have a boyfriend.
Yeah.
That I met almost a year ago.
Okay. And do you spend a lot of time with him, or? He
actually lives in Spain now.
Okay, that explains, because when we were talking the other day, you were in Spain.
Yeah. So that kind of complicates things. But he like for the first 9 months that we were dating, he lived in Iceland, and then I would just go see him like, you know, once a week, a few times a week or something, just kind of basic dating. Yeah.
And what about your husband? Does he have a girlfriend or a boyfriend now? I mean, or what's his?
No, not officially, no. But like he's open to seeing other people, and like that's the thing with this. This is not something that has to be balanced in the same way that like if you would ask any couple like how much time do you spend on your hobbies and how much time do you spend on your hobbies? Like how much self-care do you do? How much self-care do you do? This is not something that has to be equal. Like I am responsible for my own happiness and he is responsible for his. So this is not a competition. We don't have to do things equally. Like if I want to go to the gym 7 days a week and he only wants to go once a week, that's like perfectly his choice. Like it's up to him to feel how much of this activity do I want in my life. And like I said before, like we're very different in like our social needs, which a lot of couples are. Like this is one of the first things people say to me, like, we're so different. Like, of course you are. You're two different people. So being equal in how much connection you have with other people is not something you have to aim for. It's just you have to figure out for yourself if you want more connection in your life, if you want, you know, a partner to do this and this things with, or if you want another relationship. Many people just don't have the emotional capacity or the need for it.
But these like is this you've had other boyfriends before, I guess?
This is like my first formal boyfriend. Shortly after we opened our relationship, I got into a relationship with a woman, and I was with her for 9 months.
So you didn't have to wait for your husband to die?
I didn't have to wait for my husband to die. No, that's very great. Yeah, that was very great. Yeah, and I mean it was extraordinary to feel, because I had my doubts. I was like one thing that he said early on in this journey was like, please just don't be a lesbian. Just kidding.
And never come back. You
mean, exactly. But at the end of the day, like if that would be true, like if I were actually a lesbian, then that would be better for me.
And him. For him as well.
Exactly. Fortunately, I'm not a lesbian, like, so I still love my husband very much, and I want to be with him. But it was amazing to feel this part of my like sexual identity for the first time. It was really amazing. It was just kind of like, I don't know if I can see myself as this kind of, a circular being. A part of it had been gray, like all my life, and whole. This was like the first time like color came into this part of me.
You were criticizing the colors here before we started recording. That is too dark.
Yeah.
So you like colors?
I like colors, And I specifically decided at some point in my life, like I'm not gonna wear black. I still have some black things, but everything I buy new today is not black.
Okay. But so if we kind of dive into maybe not specifically your relationship, obviously that still is, or your relationships, let's say. I mean, but like, I think when people hear about polyamory, they take it as a sexual thing. Which I believe it's not necessarily. I mean, obviously there is sex involved or can be involved, but it's not about that. I mean, there's a difference between swinging and polyamory.
Yeah, so the difference between swinging and polyamory is that swinging is usually confined by being only a sexual relationship. So you would not expect a person you would meet in kind of a swinging scenario or under the circumstances of swinging, to have any commitments, any feelings, any like not a lot of emotional sharing. This is basically just play partners.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the definition of swinging. Mostly, often done with like couples together, playing with other people, like having sex somehow together.
Yeah. Yeah.
Doesn't really have to be that way. I mean, it can also be just one partner going out and meeting people for sex. But whereas polyamory is kind of like there's no limits. I mean that might scare people, and obviously there are discussions on like time management and all kinds of. So there are it's not like a free for all in anarchy. So, but polyamory, yeah, you can have relationships, more commitments to more people.
And but if like I don't know, like would all polyamory people be ready to swing? Do you know what I mean? No. So it's not like a tick box on.
It's not. So like non-monogamy would be kind of this umbrella term for all relationships that are not like exclusive between two people. And under that umbrella, you could have swinging, which is like basically just sex. You can have open relationships which are kind of more fuzzy. Often there's also the definition called don't ask, don't tell, where people are like, so you have a couple and they're free to explore with other people and they don't have to tell their partner about it. This can be practiced as kind of avoiding the processing of the emotions and having to deal with the idea that your partner is seeing other people. But it can also be just like we don't want to waste too much energy on what's happening outside the relationship. We just want to focus on us. So it can be done in a healthy way, and it can also be done in a kind of avoiding an unhealthy way. And then you have polyamory, which is this kind of more open, more free, where you're not trying to avoid having feelings for other people. And you're free to commit to more people if you want. And
those feelings, like, because you mentioned earlier that you had some romantic feelings for someone at your workplace. I mean, I think a lot of people have experienced something like this or some sort of an attraction, but we try to, suppress it somehow. We don't want it, and we feel really bad about it. And I think you said somewhere on your Instagram or something, you were talking about that we don't limit the amount of love that we give to how many friends we have or how many family members. I cannot say that, now I have 7 friends, I can't love any more friends. But we tend to do that in a monogamous relationship. We say that this love is exclusively for one person. Yeah,
exactly. So we put like romantic and sexual feelings on this kind of pedestal, and we kind of idealize them, and we try to box them in with just our only partner. But it doesn't work. Like I like the analogy of like having a swimming pool, and you want to put a line in the swimming pool, like you can pee over here, you cannot pee over here. That's what we're trying to do with these feelings. Like, okay, I'm married to you. I'm only gonna and it's like I want the illusion that I'm only gonna be sexually attracted to you, and I'm only gonna have like romantic feelings for you. That's what we would love, but we don't have that kind of switch in our heads.
But a lot of it, I guess, is insecurities as well, because I mean, like we want to be loved, and we want to get all the love that is available from that person somehow. So accepting that your partner wants to love or be romantically involved with someone else automatically makes us assume that there will be less left for us. But is there?
Not necessarily, no. I mean, in my view, it's the definition of it is not going to change the feelings your partner has for you. I mean, that's what we're afraid of, and that's what this a lot of this is just about our ego. Like it's having one partner choose you for life is like a very it's a very you get this kind of ego reward from it. Like, wow, I am the chosen one. But we hold on to the idea that being exclusive and being married and having this promise that I'm going to love you forever is gonna work, but it's not. That's not the only thing. Like we talked before about, you need to have this kind of glue in the relationship, and for many people, defining it as exclusive and planning to be
together forever.
Together forever is supposed to be the glue, or like kind of the fence around this. But if that is the only thing you have in your relationship, and you're not doing the work to, deepen the intimacy, working through arguments, having like shared meaning, and sharing your life together, that fence is not going to hold. And we know that. Like that's why infidelity happens. That's why people break up. That's why all of this, the disconnect that people experience over a long time, if they're not conscious, is what's going to happen. And that fence, that promise that we're going to love each other forever, is not going to be enough.
But I think also, like I often think about, like, for example, marriage. I think it's a brainwash in some way. Like, I had this conversation with my ex-girlfriend for often. I've never been married, and it never kind of came to me somehow. I never saw it as some necessity to confirm anything, any emotions or feelings or anything like that. Whereas, we had this long conversation. She said, but since I was 4 years old, I've been told that I'll be a princess one day, and then I'm going to be happy forever after. And when you watch American reality TV, it's crazy. Those people are just, I want the happily ever, and they're fucking 25 and they don't know shit, you know. And then someone like you shows up and tells them that they can open up a relationship, going to be even more happy. I mean, are people buying into this?
I mean, people are not necessarily buying into it straight away, but I think so many people who have been in a relationship for a long time, they're starting to suspect that the happily ever after isn't as simple and easy as we're promised. So I think people are interested to hear what I have to say, because they're like, okay, I'm not totally ready for that, but I do feel my relationship could be better, and I'm sure that just having said I do is not going to be enough.
I feel like actually a lot of the stuff that I watched from you is because you said it, that kind of going into polyamorous relationship was a deep dive, because you need to kind of look at your own needs, you need to look at the needs of your partner. I mean, it's a very kind of 360-degree review of your relationship, your needs, and what you want.
Absolutely.
And I actually, when I was looking at the stuff that you're talking about, it doesn't apply only to the romantic part, or let's say, or sexual or attraction part. It's about not expecting your relationship to give you everything.
Yes, right.
And that, like, one person cannot bring everything to the table that you need, or you need something that person doesn't like. I mean, I see in my relationship, for example, I like running, I like hiking, I like skiing, and it's just something that my girlfriend doesn't like. And in the beginning I was pushing her, and I was telling her that she's boring because she doesn't ski,
Exactly.
But then I just had to say, okay, well, I just have to find someone else to do that with, and she has to do her things. And it's great, actually. It's very liberating for both of us, because once we kind of get to a point where we say, okay, so I like this relationship, but there are like 5 other things that I want to do, and skiing or running, or I don't know, or going to the opera or something like that, that makes actually the relationship stronger.
Absolutely. I like the analogy of like seeing ourselves as kind of a 12-sided die, or a 20-sided die or something, and we're wanting to have a partner who can fulfill all of our sides, but that's impossible. Like there's no 2 dies are the same. So like you said, I like this relationship. We have a lot of things going. Like 7 sides match. Like we're great in these areas. But then I also have these 5 different sides that you're not gonna do with me, like running and hiking and whatever. And in all relationship, this is present. Like in all relationship, there are gonna be areas that either of you are not gonna, enjoy doing the activity that the other one likes, or you're not gonna enjoy the same type of sex, or you're not gonna have the same amount of energy for, talking about things. You're not gonna have, the same view of things. So there are always gonna be unfulfilled sides of you in a relationship. And I think that's the kind of the harsh wake-up call that we all need, that the happily ever after isn't as simple as you find your soulmate and you're going to have everything fulfilled in one relationship. It's
especially
just
when you
not
meet
happen.
very young, I guess, because you meet your, as you say, when you're 17, you meet your boyfriend, and then boyfriend, and now husband. I mean, you haven't developed all, you don't know all the stuff that you want.
No.
So having a relationship where you can bring those new things in and they don't become a problem, I guess creates a better foundation than suppressing them, because you're going to wait for him to pass
That's
over
right,
to become a lesbian or to explore your bisexuality.
Yeah, and I mean for
that's crazy actually if you think about it.
And I mean this is just a question of how you view life and how much happiness you can get out of life. And for some people who really believe that you're supposed to live with one person, their belief in that kind of a relationship is going to be enough of a meaning for them to sacrifice parts of their lives. And I mean, I encourage people, if you really believe strongly in monogamy and that monogamy is the best way for you to live, do that and have that belief be strong enough for you to suppress your sexual desires for other people. Like, by all means, go for it. But if, like many people, you kind of have this hunch like monogamy is not the perfect solution to all, then that temptation of your coworker or whatever, the friend in your running group or whatever, is it's gonna creep up. And if you're not working on your relationship and strengthening that bond and having that kind of belief in your own relationship, I think that's where the risk of infidelity is gonna slowly increase, because you don't believe that strongly in monogamy. And because our primal, animal instinct is just not working with us.
No, I mean, we are pack animals. I mean, we are supposed to be,
exactly.
I don't know, 100 of us and fucking everyone and not, and caring for everyone and
exactly.
taking care of the whole group, not just one person.
But then again, people are so different. So some people almost never fall in love, and they almost never, get turned on by other people. And for those people, monogamy is probably just fine.
That must be really boring though if you never get turned on.
Yeah, I mean, but people are different.
Yeah,
so
that's true. And obviously, I mean, for there are different things that turn people on in terms of stimulation. For some it's sex, for some it's something else,
Yeah, exactly.
But is there like a stereotype in this? Maybe first of all, is it who brings this up more often, like to turn a relationship into a poly relationship? Is that more women than men, or what's the?
Like in my experience, having been running this platform and talking to people, women are usually the ones who are needing more, wanting to explore more.
Why do you think that is?
There are some theories about.
Is the patriarch or?
No. I think it's more like evolutionary that. So the way I heard it was that men are just happy as long as they have a woman to fuck. So so their satisfaction is just it's just stays like this. Yeah. Whereas women is high in the beginning, the novelty and the thrill and excitement, and then as over time it's gonna wear off.
So they need a new guy.
Yeah, they'll need a new guy. So that's the simplest explanation I have. I've no ground to back this up, but I think this makes sense. Yeah. And in the people I've talked to, it's more predominantly women who are seeking opening a relationship. And men are more possessive and jealous and afraid. Yeah. If I have to give out a stereotype, but it's not a very simplistic way.
But I think in general also we are more insecure in this sense, because I think we have this possessiveness idea.
Yeah.
And we are worried that someone is better than us, he's better in bed, or he's more fun, or he's a better provider, or whatever, know?
It's toxic masculinity in some sense. That the woman you have in your life is kind of a reflection of your identity or your ego, or who you are, how good of a man you are, or something like that.
But do you think, in your case, that maybe you see more women because you're a woman yourself, and I don't know, I mean, is there a clone of you, a male clone, doing the same somewhere where he gets followed by a lot of men and he gets? Do you know what I mean? Is it?
Yeah.
Would a guy trust an advice from a girl in this? I don't know about that. I mean,
It's an interesting thought.
I like watching you, and I like
Yeah.
listening to what you have to say, but just make me wonder if there is like, oh, I'm never gonna listen to some woman who just wants to do whatever, you know?
Well, I mean, I think one of my strengths is having a lot of compassion and understanding for men. I love men, and like I wish the best for them, and I'm not highly critical of them or judgmental. So I think in some sense men do relate to what I say, whereas I kind of get the vibe from some content creators, women who are talking about anything related to this. They're kind of like, some of it is they're mad at men in some way. They feel like men owe them respect or good treatment or something like that. Which is a discussion that is in some sense necessary to kind of balance out the patriarchal effect. Yeah, but I don't know how to answer your question.
Yeah. But as it comes to, like, I don't know, age or something like that, or like, is it younger people? What do you kind of see in your universe? Is it more young people or people all ages? Are people my age? Like, I'm 50 almost. Are they coming on board with something like this in general?
I mean, I think for the younger generation, there's maybe less societal baggage that they have to get rid of. So like how more open the discussion is around like trans issues or sexuality and all these kinds of discussion that the younger people are more like onto, which makes it maybe more accessible to them. That the kind of accepted norms are more diverse. So for older generations, there's a lot more of ideals that they have to break down or kind of dismantle in their heads to accept themselves for wanting this kind of a lifestyle if it's what they want.
But if you, I don't know, if you bring this, like let's say when you brought this home and you told your husband that you wanted to do this, what happens like when one part wants this and the other part doesn't want this? I mean, how does that get resolved?
If it's really that simple, like one person really wants to live this way and the other person really does not want to, I mean, either one of them is going to be miserable if they continue to be together. So I think what is important to acknowledge in this kind of scenario is the prevalence or the high chance that there's going to be sexual shame around around this issue. So like
from whom?
Just from society. So like a lot of my inner work has been around like sex negativity and just trying to come to terms with wanting to open my relationship and being afraid to be judged as a slut or being afraid to be judged in being a sexually liberated woman basically. Because we do have a lot of strict ideals around how sex can and should be. Stereotypes and just societal norms. So, and that's going to be prevalent in relationships as well. Like even close relationships, there are going to be ideas around how sex can be and should be, and who is like all these kinds of ideas. Like sex negativity is affecting all relationships. So the partner who doesn't want this, in this like the example you just gave, might judge or shame the other partner for wanting this, or the partner who wants it might be feeling shame and judgment towards themselves and therefore sacrifice what they want. And I think that's where a lot of people stop. Like they know they want this, but they cannot, or like are not ready to face the shame and possible judgment that they might face.
That's a horrible thing though.
It's very sad, yeah.
Yeah, look forward that maybe like, I don't know, 30, 40 years of thinking I'm never going to get this, what I really, really would enjoy,
Yeah.
Especially when it's such a harmless, or let's say a relatively harmless thing. I mean, it's not like the person wants to do heroin or something.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. And that's where I like a lot of my focus and what I'm most passionate about is just helping people to accept themselves more and to be like to commit to living in authenticity, even if it means swimming against the current.
But these like these relationships, when you have, so you in a polyamorous relationship, you kind of define, like in your case, your husband is your primary partner. I mean, is that the word even that is used for such, or?
So this is hierarchical. This is the idea around hierarchical relationships, and you can have what is often called prescriptive hierarchy, where you decide beforehand, like this is my primary partner.
Yeah.
Like I will always live with this person. You kind of have this kind of, in the same sense as monogamy, like promise myself that I'm always going to live with this person, which I think people sometimes do out of insecurity and out of the illusion that they can't control their feelings and that they really want to hold on to this safety of this one relationship. But like for me and my husband, like we own a house together, we have 2 kids and a dog together. Like we already have a lot of shared commitment. A glue. Yeah, we have a very solid glue, which is our kids. But I don't really define him in that sense, like being my primary, in the sense that I'm like always gonna, I don't know how to, I mean, like we have this commitment together, and like we have promised to like spend our life together. We're married, but I think you can't really decide so much in advance, like what your life is going to be like.
No, because you don't know. I mean, you might wake up next week and you feel different, or something has changed.
And I think that applies to monogamous relationships as well. Like you have to be able to accommodate for the, unfolding of your life, basically. But then you can have descriptive hierarchy, which is like describing what status your relationships are at, which is kind of describing like how much time you spend with this person, or how much compatibility you have at this one moment. Like for example, my boyfriend, he has been running his own business for a long time, and now that I'm like starting my business, I'm learning a lot from him. So like I get a lot of value out of discussing like business terms with him, which my husband isn't really like that familiar with. So there's a lot of value that I get from my boyfriend that my husband doesn't have.
But so, I mean, but if you, I don't know, like, and that's like the time management, because like you have this, as you said. I mean, you have that marriage, you have that house, you have the dog, you have the kids, you know. And I mean, would you or could you go away? Just I'm leaving for 2 months now. I'm going to be living in Spain.
No, I could not.
Does that mean that then you automatically have said that this relationship is more important, or?
I mean, for me, it's more just like I wouldn't expect my husband to say, I've taken on this job, I'm leaving in a week, and I'm going to go away for 2 months. Because I would expect, well, okay, we have kids, like please consider me, consider me in your big decisions. So that's in the same sense. I wouldn't just say like I booked a one-way ticket, I'm gone, like I don't know when I'll be back, just out of consideration for our shared responsibilities in our life together. That doesn't, so like a one-way primary relationship would be, very strict, is if people can use veto, which is it's kind of like I can say no to whatever choice you have. So that would be a very, very strict hierarchical order. If say my husband could say, no, you're not allowed to date this person, or I don't like this relationship anymore, you have to break up with him. Like that would be a very strict and very cruel, in my sense, hierarchy.
So you're not there?
No. So my husband cannot say what feelings I can have, he cannot say what kind of relationship I can have. But we do have this commitment that like we do share responsibilities of our kids. So that's something that I will honor. Like I will honor my commitment to him around that.
It's interesting, and I mean, but because you often see this terminology, like a primary partner or secondary partner or something like that. So how does that work? I mean, not necessarily just in your case, but like in general. So you like, if I'm in a polyamorous relationship and then I have my girlfriend or wife, and then I go and find someone who's going to be, I don't know, would you call it the extra, or or how, what's the?
I mean,
my girlfriend,
it really depends.
My other girlfriend.
Then, like a lot of people are polyamorous and they're not in relationships, and they're not, they decide that they want to be polyamorous while they're single. So not all people who are polyamorous are first in a relationship.
You just saved my life. I went from being a slut for most of my life when I was single because I had multiple partners, and now I was just polyamorous.
Yeah.
Great.
Well, I mean, there is a very crucial part of polyamory is that honest and honest communication.
You
so you were just a slut.
Yeah.
No, I mean, no.